This leader is provided to permit the projectionist to complete adjustment of focus and sound level before the film begins.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put that in the edit for a bit.
It's like a laser shooting.
Yes. I'm going to maybe add a sound effect. Yes, something like that.
Wanna take a video of this? What color am I feeling tonight? I think I'm sticking with white.
jumped out. The suspect, he jumped out. He tried to hide, did some of his clothes, shed the for some time. And then eventually what happened was the cab is filled with black smoke.
Oh, shoot. Let's go outside. Let's go, come on.
Time to start up some good old Final Fantasy. Finish all of my work. Are complete. Time to just waste time away. I'm so happy. All right, let's hope I don't die in this raid this I have 24 minutes. All right.
I'll be here to do all things to comfort you. Oh, and though I've been away, left you alone in this way, why don't you come away and let your first smile take me home?
It's not! Oh my fucking god! You start spinning venom and being so fucking hurt anytime that anyone...
And let your first smile take me home.
Someone's crawling someone or something. I can see coming out of that black hole, two luminous discs. For the eyes, it might be a face, might be almost a heavens.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch.
UX2L calling CQ, New York. Is there anyone on the air? Is there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? UX.
100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
Don't want to know I'm no good for you. I've learned to lose and can't afford for my shirt to stop you bleeding, but nothing ever stops you leaving. I could lie, say I like it like that, like it like that. I could lie, say I like it like that, like it like that.
All right, gang, gather around.
What is it, Mr. B?
Yeah, what is it, Bob? Oh, don't tell me you guys forgot about today.
Oh, I know. Ask me, please. I know, ask me.
Anyone else aside from Danny? All right, Danny. What day is it today?
Why, today is the annual fruit festival.
Yeah, so I'm really, like I said, this is going to be a Q&A as opposed to a critique. So we're really just going to, of course, we can just like share observations, but if we have any questions for the individual makers or comments directly towards them, we can just jump right into that. Again, sorry for any choppiness. Like I said, it was down to the wire, kind of getting all these files in. So um, screen share was really the best way to do this. Um, but yeah, I'm curious. I don't know if people want to just jump in or you can raise hands, whatever, if anyone has any comments or questions they want to share with the group to start us off.
I have a question. So for that one video with the cartoon playing, I don't know if it was just choppiness of the video or the video actually ended where that character was saying, "Oh, I know what day it is," and then it just stopped. So what day was it? Like, what was the video about?
And so that
And
was Danny's video you're responding to. So Danny, do you
I'm
want
not
to?
sure exactly.
I'm pretty sure it was Danny's video.
Yeah, I can talk about it. So because we're screen sharing, the feed didn't really do it justice, but the parts where it cut out and the screen glitched, that was all edited by me. I used the offset filter and the wave warp tool to kind of create a channel changing effect. It's a bit more smooth when you watch it outside of like a Zoom stream, and then the video itself with the cartoon has some moments where it blacks out like by itself. And then I also added the parts where the audio cuts out and it's kind of like humming TV static, as well as cutting out the audio in certain parts to kind of simulate like a TV breaking question mark, I guess.
Okay, yeah, so it was the video actually. So what day was it? What was that cartoon?
The cartoon itself, it was Angie and I, every Sunday we just go through random YouTube videos, and that just came up on my recommended, and it just really fit the atmosphere and aesthetic that I was going for. And then the beginning of the video where it had that like TV signal thing, that's from a video game I really like called Little Nightmares 2. So I thought it also just added to the atmosphere that I was searching for.
Nice.
Cool. Who else has questions or comments?
I wanted to make a comment on the video where the lights in the room kept changing.
Maybe that was Michael Sayson's video where he's sort of selecting the different color environments.
Yeah, that one. I really enjoyed their creativity of that one, and the way how with the change of colors, it kind of has like this different mood to it, and in a way he personified them. So I really like how he added like this comedic effect to it as well. I thought I think that one was my favorite.
What I appreciate about that one is that it goes to a lot of different moods within a compressed time frame. You have sorrow, you have high energy, you have terror. It tells a whole story in a very compressed minute scale. And I think that was an impressive example of using the time to your advantage.
Yeah, Michael, do you want to just tell us a little bit about maybe not so much making it, but also just your thinking behind the project?
Yeah, when I was making this, when I was writing the script for this, I was thinking like, okay, there'll be 2 seconds of this, 2 seconds of this, and then when I put it together, I realized like, no, that seems too quick paced. So I had to cut down and speed up some parts of it to fit within like the 56-second time frame. But originally there's supposed to be like a 4th color, but I realized that there was too little time to do that, so I just ended up using only like 3.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think that it's really interesting to hear you talk about that approach, because I think whether it's you know, a 56-second video we're working on, or, you know, a 30-minute television show or a 90-minute feature film, right? There's, of course, we're making videos and they can kind of be as long or as short as we need them to be, but oftentimes there's sort of these imposed limitations. So a really interesting way of working, you know, no one ever writes a book and says like, okay, this book has to be exactly 220 pages, right? But oftentimes with video, there's a minimum or maximum time amount. So I think sort of like taking your idea and adapting it to whatever time frame you're working within is it's a challenge, but also, right, it can be a really smart way of working through ideas so that you're able to include everything you want to include, right? Yeah, other questions or comments or other videos that are jumping out at us? Let's keep it going, folks.
Um, I was gonna say, sorry, I put the notes in my phone, but 2 p.m. I think it was Brianna. And then this was also for Michael's video. I just found it really relatable. And for Brianna's video, I liked how it was like the procrastination, and she keeps looking at the homework, that the list of stuff that needs to get done. And I feel like that like encaptured the time really well, at least for me. Like I was like, I feel the same way at 2 p.m. every day where I should be starting my homework, but I'm like, I don't want to yet. But yeah, I like both of those videos a lot. And with Michael, I have the LEDs in my room, and sometimes I have to sit there picking a color. And so I thought you encaptured emotions with that really well.
Thanks. Well, Katie, maybe since you're already sharing, I'll ask you, I wanted to ask you about your video, which is much earlier, right? I think it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. But you had all those amazing 3 a.m. Okay. You had all and I think you're muted now, but you had all those amazing close-up shots where we see your eyes and we can actually, it's so close and it's exposed in such a way that we actually see the reflection of what you're looking at in your eyes. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit, I guess just in the whole piece, lighting is so important, right? You've got the whole like gaming setup and all the different colored lights and things like that. But as we all know, right, you can't just point a camera at that stuff and have it come out looking the way you want it to. So I imagine there was some kind of setup and calibration with the camera and things like that. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit just about the process of shooting that piece and getting all those details.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of difficult to start, especially getting the, like, you know, I used my phone and I had it on the tripod, and getting it on my desk in a way where it's like on my eyes, but I can still see like the screen, have the light from, I use the light from the screen for that, for the close-ups of my eyes. So that was pretty difficult. It took me a few minutes to like, or a few tries to like get it to where I wanted. But yeah, so I had to like set it off to the side a little bit. Luckily my monitors are like slanted, so I was still able to get the light from the screen. And then for recording the screens themselves, I had to mess around a little bit with that as well, because one of my monitors is a lot brighter than the other one. And so I don't know if you could tell, but when I was watching the show, like I had to put on the other monitor, otherwise you just couldn't even see what was going on. And if I made it darker on like the exposure darker, then it took away from other lights and stuff in the room. But yeah, I mostly used like the lighting that comes from the setup itself.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think all the shots came out really well, and the colors. Yeah, it's not easy to do that in a dark room, right? We all know from trial. I'm also thinking about, oh gosh, his video is right after Michael's. Just thinking about the beginning of the projects. Anthony, your video, there's all these kind of really beautiful, expressive nighttime shots. In the beginning, especially, right, where it seems like you're really playing around with exposure, to just get those little hints of streetlights and things like that. But most of the frame is completely dark, which is how, you know, the world feels at 2 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning. Do you want to talk a little bit about filming at night as well?
Yeah, so my kind of creative process was like I wanted to, because like I'm awake that late like almost every night. I'm kind of a night owl, and when I'm awake that late, it's kind of like peaceful in a way. It's like, oh, I'm the only person, or I feel like I'm the only person that's awake right now. Like I kind of have this freedom to just kind of chill out and, you know, relax. So I wanted to like capture that feeling of being like the only person, or feeling like the only person that's awake. So I went throughout the city and just found like empty streets where obviously like it was, I filmed like about 1 in the morning. So not exactly at 2, but it was the middle of the night. There was no one out. So I wanted to find these good spots and then mess with the exposure, like you said, where I could mess with like the street lights. And then in one of the shots, there's even like a skunk that runs across the road because of how little activity there is. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, I just wanted to mess a lot with like, you know, street lights and exposure and just kind of capturing that feeling.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, other questions or comments? I mean, of course, I have lots of questions for everyone, but I think it's more interesting to hear from our classmates.
I had a question about, let me see. I believe it was the 6 o'clock video uses, it sounded like an excerpt from Orson Welles' 1938 Mercury Theater War of the Worlds broadcast in the beginning. I was wondering what significance the maker was attaching to the use of that clip, or if there was a more of a purposeful meaning behind it.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So it started out in my proposal sort of being a transition from this really cool toned area to really warm at around 7. So at that time, I was still wondering what I was going to be doing with the sound clips. I wasn't sure. And then I found something that sort of like altered the meaning of the video. And that also led to the whole countdown idea from 6 to 0. And I thought, what's a sound clip that can bring a lot of sort of anxiousness or anxiety? So I thought, oh, a public domain one would be good. And War of the Worlds came up, and I really liked that sound clip a lot because it brings, even though obviously it's fake, it's an acted out radio broadcast, it was so anxiety inducing, especially to the people watching it live. And I really like bringing in that feeling to a lot of my films. So I spliced it up and like put certain sections over the musical sections that they had and just put it around. And then near the end, I sort of like made it a climactic moment with the sound when the reporter finally falls and dies, and that's the end of it. And that was it. It was sort of just to build tension and sort of give a sense of uneasiness, because that's kind of what the whole broadcast was about, was fear of the unknown, and they weren't even sure what they were dealing with. And that was it. Same thing with the film. I sort of wanted to contrast that and just, yeah, I wanted to go for that emotion with it. And that was it.
Angie, while you're talking about your video, I'm curious because I'm really struck by your video. I think like a lot of the projects we've seen today, it's very, you know, it feels very familiar and domestic, like inside your room or the desk where you work at. But there's so much going on in the video. And I feel like even after watching it for 60 seconds, I don't even totally know everything that's happening in the video, you know, because my eye is drawn in all these different places. And like you're mentioning the recording, you know, I'm taking in so much information in an audio sense. So I'm wondering, would you be able to just kind of break down like all the different elements in your video, because it is so rich and dense in this way that I think when we first enter it, we're not necessarily expecting, and it's really fun to get lost in it, you know. But since you're here and you're laying your cards bare, I'd love to hear you just talk a little bit about, like, you don't have to explain the meaning behind all of them necessarily, but just what are we seeing? You know, there's so much going on in this video.
Well, it started out with me really wanting to use overlaying effects and blend modes a lot. So I started out with obviously the beginning shot where I took a like kind of B-roll film of me not sitting in that area. And then I made another clip of me sitting in that area, and I sort of messed around with filters I really, the whole time I did that sort of method, and I really wanted to focus on creating like, it's sort of like you said, like a domestic feeling, but then making it sort of surreal or unnatural, like with the colors being really, you know, kind of discordant and a little blinding at times. And then mixing that with like the really orange outdoors area. And obviously in those moments, it's way more tense because I wanted to contrast that sort of feeling. And with the countdown, overlaying that over, you know, the outdoors, and sort of like give a feeling of like something is out there, we don't know what it is, and it's observing, and it knows something's gonna happen, but you just don't know. And of course, indoors is more of a really cool sort of calm atmosphere or a more knowing atmosphere, but at the same time, it doesn't feel familiar to you. It feels very unnatural. And that was sort of the main thing I was going for. Really just a lot of experimenting with the blend modes and overlays. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I really like to see people's interpretations of it rather than, you know, what I think it's really about, you know?
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Are there other questions?
I just want to talk about.
I'd like.
Oh,
you
You can go.
No, you
well, let's
go
do
first.
Matt, and then we'll do Kalena.
Okay. I just want to talk about quick, like I got like yard work going on or something. So, composition wise, though, like Katie's the eye shot with the monitor, that was such a beautiful shot. That was really good. And Maysan's, oh man, they're getting so loud. But Maysan is at like the pool with like the banana floaty going by. Like that was such a good shot. That was like cinematic B-roll. Like you could use that for any project. Those are impressive. Those two shots I like thought were like professional and like really good quality cinematically. That's what I'm looking for, I guess. So those were two like highlights that I took note of that were just really good shots, composition wise and everything. Those are cool. They're getting so loud.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, no, thanks, Matt. And maybe, yeah, Maysan, maybe you could talk a little bit about your piece because we haven't talked about it yet. And, you know, I would agree that compositionally, but also color is so important in this piece. And then I was also really struck at all the camera movements on the tripod. You know, it just had I think the way time flowed through your 60 seconds felt maybe different than some of the videos that were around it. It felt, you were able to fit a lot in, but it also felt very dreamy and smooth. So do you want to talk a little bit more about, yeah, just putting together that video and what you were thinking when you put together those shots and shooting them? I'm also thinking about in the beginning, there's like that beautiful shot of kind of the reflection in the puddles on the ground. So really kind of a lot of subtle composition happening.
Yeah, I actually didn't use a tripod. That was my hand just holding it. And yeah, I was really proud of those two shots that Matt was mentioning. I just, because I've been in Miami, so we're chilling by the pool. So around that time I'm by the pool. So I'm like, you know what, let me make use of it. And the colors were very vibrant and saturated. I'm like, this is nice to kind of film instead of what I proposed in my proposal, because that one was more of a hectic thing where right now my time frame was more chill than my proposal was. So I was like, it's cool, the colors are cool, it's very relaxing, let me just do this. And yeah, it was just, I was doing things that I was like looking at and seeing, and I tried to get shots of the way I'm seeing things. So yeah, that's where it all came from. And yeah, I thought to put like, I don't know, it was an accordion, my sound. I don't even know what it was, but it seemed fitting to the scenery. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And I think like you mentioned, you know, it's great to be somewhere that's beautiful and film it, right? But just because we have a beautiful location doesn't always mean that our video is going to look beautiful to match it, right? So I think this idea that you mentioned of sort of making, trying to make the camera do what your eyes are doing naturally is really important, because I think like other people have mentioned, the framing is so strong here, and that's what makes the video. It helps that you're in a beautiful environment and very relaxed by the pool. But I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all about the way you decide to take the shots and what you're deciding to show us. So even though you're not in the video, your presence is very strong in the video.
Yeah. Thanks. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Well, good. Kalena, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the video that was right before mine. I think it was 5 to 6. I'm not sure whose it was, but I really liked how he laid out the shot, just in general, how it really showed like the morning struggle, I guess you could say. Like it was very relatable in that sense. You have him like waking up super early and he's like covering his face with his pillow, and then he's throwing his clothes at the wall, and then at the whole time you can see the like in the frame you have the clock, and it's like changing throughout like that hour he has, and I thought that was laid out really well.
Yeah, for sure. So that was David's video, David Souza, and yeah, I would agree. I think also, well, David, if you want to talk about that a little bit, but also I think kind of in the very, if I'm not wrong, in the very beginning of the video, there are some really, before we see the clock, there's some really dramatic shots where it's kind of like the outside world or through the window at that time of day where everything's so dark that we can barely see the edges of the landscape, but it is there. And I thought that those shots were really effective in the piece too. So yeah, David, do you want to talk a little bit about, yeah, just the process of making some of those shots or putting together the ideas for the video?
Yeah, like, so what I wanted to do for my film is like take into aspect like how quiet the world is and still while like you're sleeping, and then all of a sudden you just get like hit with that alarm just blaring and going off, and the struggle to actually get out of bed and throw on some clothes and go out and enjoy the day. But yeah, I really wanted to capture like the stillness of everything before you get up, and then the chaos of actually getting up.
That's great. I really love like when you do start to get up, how the camera stays locked in place, but through the edits you kind of are moving, you're in bed and then all of a sudden you're out of bed. And yeah, just that feeling of kind of time not flowing smoothly when you first wake up. It felt like you represented that really well. Yeah. Well, similarly, right
When
after
David
your video. Oh, sorry. Yeah, please.
I was just gonna say when David threw his pants at the wall, I laughed. Like that was a good shot too. That was so funny.
Really relatable, right? Well, right after David's video is Kalena's video, and Kalena, I think like a lot of your videos, I think we're all jealous of the landscape that you have access to. But beyond, sort of being struck by the beauty of what you're showing us, I think I was really intrigued by the way all of your shots are framed in this very intimate way, whether it's the ocean or the dog or just the plant life. It feels like we're right up against everything in this way that feels very natural. And then also just kind of your camera movements in this video are so smooth, and I almost was curious, like if you're just doing handheld camera work or if you have some kind of camera support that you're putting your camera on, because I really felt like, it felt like the camera is such a part of your body with the way that it's moving and how close it gets to everything.
So yeah, that was handheld, and that was just like really close to my house, and I take my dog there like almost every morning, so that's why I chose that time too, is because normally it's not that early because I'm not really a morning person, but I also wanted to capture like the beauty of like not exactly sunrise, but I guess right after sunrise. But yeah, I took a lot of different kind of panning shots, I guess you could say. I tried my best to do as much shots I could make transitions to, I guess you could say, like fading into something like a leaf, but some of them just were like shaky, and I slowed down a lot of the shots too to make it more like dramatic stuff, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That kind of time manipulation of slowing down the video would also add to that sort of dreaminess or kind of early morning quality. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Well, I'm sure other people have questions. I want to get to a few more videos and then we can, I feel like we're rushing just because there's 24 of us and we're not going to be able to talk about everything. But I do want to talk about sound a little bit. And obviously, I think, we're coming off a sound and image assignment, and sound is really important for everyone's videos. But I was really struck by sound in a couple of videos. So I'd like to call on people. So first is Michael E. I want you to talk about your video, and obviously, visually it's very dramatic with all these kinds of drone shots and big aerial shots and sweeping vistas and the very dramatic sunset. But more specifically, I thought the way that you intercut the sound with the sound of the ocean felt very rhythmic. And I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about your editing strategy for this piece, sound and image wise, because there is a real structure to it, and I thought it was very effective.
Yes, so
of
I have
course,
two.
you're starting with very beautiful shots, which always helps, right? But we could imagine a version of this video that doesn't feel as tight, right?
Mm-hmm. So for this video, I used two audios, obviously, the music and just one long audio clip of the ocean waves. So talking about the music, I only included the singing parts when you see the sunset. When it's just the waves or just some abstract B-roll, I would just cut the music to no audio, where the ocean, the second audio, would become louder. During that clip where the drone shot is like very far away from the pier and you see the whole horizon, I try to make it as if you're far away from the waves, making it more realistic in a sense. But that's what I was trying to go for in my video if we're talking about audio. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I also just can't help but noticing it feels like, even though you're interrupting the music, your sense of editing the audio is, it feels like almost the music disappears on the beat and reappears on the beat. And so the ocean becomes this kind of instrument rather than just, like a total cacophony collision of two different sounds. It feels like you're really adding the ocean to the music in a way that's really effective.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. And then similarly, Tina, if you're here, I noticed in your video, at the very beginning where the character, I guess you, is getting picked up in the car, we hear the sounds of the car pulling up. And then we kind of go into this musical dream world for a while where it's just pure music. And then at the end of the video, the sound of the world comes rushing back to us in this very kind of loud way. So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how you set up, those audio entry and exit points for like reality and then music and then back to reality.
Yeah, so I wanted to like add like raw sounds of like what was happening and like the car exhaust because that's like pretty loud. So I wanted to include that, and then like you said, kind of put into like a trance, like a dream world where you like start going to travel down San Diego downtown, and I just wanted to capture that. And then at the end, you can see like you can hear the sounds of like the bay and of the airplane. I think I'm not sure, but yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's great. And I think it really works, but I was really struck by how noisy the bay is and the airplane. It feels like, we're coming out of, like you said, a trance world, and it's I don't think they're bad. Like, I think they're kind of weirdly pleasant sounds. Like, I think the sound of the city humming and airplanes and things like that can be really beautiful, but it really does feel like a roar, like we're coming back to this very busy world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really dramatic in a good way.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, are there other questions or comments for anyone? Videos we've talked about already, or I know we haven't gotten to some of the videos because there's so many of them. So any questions or comments?
I really liked the last video because I feel like they were able to take like activities that are usually kind of mundane, like getting gas and grabbing Jack in the Box, and then kind of like added some cinematic effect to it with like, you know, quick cuts to like the speed gauge and the sound of the car revving. Like I thought it was pretty cool. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I was really struck, I think in a lot of these videos, we see this very first person perspective. Like maybe some of the videos like Brianna's and a few others, it's more of the filmmaker performing for the camera. But I think in a lot of videos, we see kind of the camera as the point of view of the maker. But in the last video, in Matthew's video, I was really struck by it. It really feels like, the camera might as well be strapped to his forehead or something. Like it's so much his point of view. So yeah, Matt, do you want to talk about that? Matthew Gonzales? Just talk about, kind
Yeah,
of making those shots. Yeah.
so like the whole idea of the video, I know I wanted it to be like, for as far as sound, I wanted it to be quiet, but then have like some loud parts, which is like the engines, and the quiet parts, like the quiet still parts. And yeah, I just wanted to, because my time was 11 to 12, and I wanted to like I want to bring the whole idea of like, it's like the world is like starting to quiet down during those times, but then for some people it's like barely getting started.
That's great. Yeah, well, are there any other questions or comments? I feel like we're probably wrapping up here just because obviously we could stay here all day and talk about these videos. There's certainly a lot to talk about. But yeah, if there's any kind of final thoughts or things that we haven't gotten to that people want to get to.
Speaking of the POV style that a lot of these videos have taken, I thought maybe the most effective moment for that for me was in the 8 a.m. one where you have a shot of the glasses going over the camera and the focus shifting. I thought that was just very beautifully done.
Oh yeah, that's a great point, Paul. That was Karisa's video. And yeah, I think Karisa's video really, really kind of embodies this like camera point of view in a way that, again, maybe not unsimilar to the very last video, is kind of this extreme realization of it. Karisa, do you want to talk a little bit about making the video? I mean, obviously, like we think about, even just having the second phone to film if you're filming with your phone, right? The phone becomes so important, but how do you show your phone if you're also using your phone to make the video and things like that? Maybe just like some of the logistics around it.
Yeah, so for mine, I do have two phones. So for this one, I just changed the time on it. I changed it from like the auto style so I could do it to the manual style. So I just put it to whatever time I wanted it to record at. And then originally I had like my hand over the camera and I was kind of like opening my fingers. So it looked like I was opening my eyes and then putting the camera on or putting the glasses on. So it looked really cool. But then it was just too long. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, 60 seconds really isn't that long. So I had to cut that part of it out, but I really wanted to keep the glasses part in there because I just liked how I was able to change from the out of focus into focus once the glasses went on, and I had fun with it. I enjoyed it.
That's great. Yeah, you are able to pack a lot into 60 seconds. And, I think even just kind of, the shot of the feet wandering around the house is, that's like all we need to see, right? To be able to relate to this early morning setup. We don't necessarily need to know who the person is or who they're attached to, but just kind of that like bare feet on the floor getting out of bed feels so relatable. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, well, maybe we're wrapping up here. So again, I just want to congratulate you all. I know that, again, these 60-second videos are in some ways way more challenging than the 2, 3, or 4-minute projects for a lot of the reasons that we just talked about. And also, I know that it's easy to think about this kind of video art or this kind of video making as being this very solitary practice, or that we're all 24 different people coming at it from 24 different viewpoints. But I think, I really hope that a project like this, as simple as it is just sticking all these videos together into a structure, I hope that it can be inspiring for you in the future to think about collaboration as something that, still allows you to work in the idiosyncratic ways that you like to work, but also thinking about, how we as creators and artists can sort of band together. And, if any one of us were to make a 24-minute video, it would take us the entire semester. But since there's so many of us and we're able to break it down into little sections, we're able to come up with this beautiful long form video. So I really do hope that's an idea that can continue forward for you all in your individual practices beyond the classroom and beyond this class. Again, congratulations to everyone. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.